us from Boca Raton today with rain in the background, I believe.
Yep.
And, Jason, I'll tell you, I became aware of you, frankly, when you started the petition for the recall.
Oh, so way back when.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that
way
was
back when.
So
and I've
the
been
day we're
reaching out to you
recording
since then to try and get in touch. So, but I've been following you.
Wow.
And that was admirable and the right thing to do.
So it's interesting. So, I started that was when we're recording this time. It was a year ago next week. And I did that petition, to be completely candid. I didn't put much thought into it. I felt I wanted to do something because there was a lot of silence in the industry.
Right.
After the New York Times article came out that detailed rampant sexual harassment and the toxic work environment at NAR, and no one was talking, and I didn't get it.
Right.
So I thought to do something. It was a Labor Day weekend. I had some time, and so I launched this petition. Looking back a year later, had I known what that petition would have led to, I would have told you were crazy, right? Like I had no plan, no grand design on any of this, but here we are.
Look at you now.
Yeah.
So yesterday, I believe it's yesterday, you did an Instagram Live with Lacey Newman of Elevated Agents out of Nashville, I believe. So I'm going to suggest that anybody that wants to see kind of the whole picture in the background to check that out. I know it's up on Instagram now. I'm sure it'll be posted elsewhere, but really good discussion, about a half hour long. And so anybody who wants to see it again, Lacey Newman of Elevated Agents. And what I want to do today is kind of go beyond that. And I've got some, specific topics that I'd like to run through.
Sure.
But I'm going to tell you the best headline. I have to give the Real Deal props, because when I saw this headline, this article, I'm like, you know what? You couldn't write a better one. And it was Haber rattling, the Compass agent coming for NAR, the National Association of Realtors. I was like, all right, that's it. So please.
I was surprised. That was that they did a profile. Again, all these profile pieces and these these articles that have been written. I mean, it's all new to me over the last year. I didn't really have that before, but it was a good headline, I suppose. Although I would quibble a little bit, Tom, in that I'm not really coming for NAR. I wish them the best. I hope they can thrive. Our industry needs a vibrant, active, dynamic, national voice. I just haven't been happy with the voice they've provided, the direction that they've taken the industry, and thought that we could offer something different, something better, something that moves the industry forward. And, I understand the media wants to sort of play this up as, the David and Goliath story. I have no grand designs of taking on NAR directly. As it is, I'm already trying to boil the Pacific Ocean with Mauricio and I just starting a trade association, let alone taking on the largest trade association in America with the most members, the biggest political contributor in the country. So, I understand this. I understand the scoreboard here too.
Yeah. And look, you've been blunt and direct and constructive, and that's all appreciated. But I'm going to lead you down the dark path for a second, and I'll take the hit to start. I think, a comment in your discussion yesterday was that by Lacey was that the industry has a PR problem. No, I don't think it's a PR problem. I think the industry's got a problem with professionalism and training and regulation and all the other things. And it just so happens that the NAR, as the national organization, it has gotten bloated and all sorts of other things. And I'll tell you, the thing that it's small, but the thing that irks me most every year, every 6 months, is when I write that check. Like, what are they doing for me? Right. I don't want to pay for lobbying efforts. I can't get my forms unless I am a member through there and then CAR. So it's not a warm and fuzzy feeling. So reform is necessary. I think you would probably concur that our industry is still, way too paper intensive.
Yeah.
We've been late to the table. So I think what you're doing with the new organization, if you wouldn't mind, just, let's hear the 60-second pitch. So it's on record here, and then we'll get to some other stuff.
You just laid out a lot there. And let me go a little further than some of the things you said. So a lot of what we're talking about is legacy systems and the way things are. You have to join NAR. Most agents have no choice but to. It's the only trade association in America, federal trade association in America, where membership is non-optional. By way of example, 17% of all doctors are members of the American Medical Association. 15% of all lawyers are members of the Trial Lawyers Association. 99% of all agents are members of NAR. It's the only trade association that has those numbers. In addition, you said they were bloated. I'll go one step further. Look at their 990 form. How many? Apple has 8 members of their board. IBM has 12. How many does NAR have?
A bunch, and I heard it yesterday. I'm not going to spoil it.
Over 1,400. 1,400. That's not a board. That's a Politburo.
Which is the best line I've heard.
Thank you. This is an organization that exists to suit itself, to suit its own needs, not the needs of the members. And listen, I've called publicly that I believe that the settlement was a Faustian bargain. The $100 million a year that they're paying out over 4 years, very quick math. Again, look at the 990 form, $350 million a year in revenue, $250 million a year in expenses. What do you got left over? About 100 mil over 4 years. Boom, boom, boom. And there's your settlement. Round numbers here. So listen, I've felt that because this is a legacy system that's been around for 100 years, we've just accepted it. There's been no disruption in the trade association world of our industry. If this moment doesn't call for a disruption, then it never will happen.
I agree.
Never. So we have a once in a generation chance to take the frustration that's out there and channel it and do something with it. And that's what we think we can do. And I think that's why we have a lot of momentum on our side right now.
Absolutely. I mean, some of the terms that you've used, and I'm just getting them out there because I appreciate it. You used organizational rot as one.
Yes.
Which I think is apt. And then when describing the business, I've heard you use the term used car salesperson. And I'll tell you that it's exactly the term that I used. So I came from New York, from, financial services and, right in the midst of all of it. And when I got into real estate here, I said, you know what? I feel like I'm dealing with used car salespeople. I mean, no disrespect to a professional in that field, but, lack of training, standards, and penalties. The penalties are almost non-existent. So it'd been a constant frustration. So to hear you speak of the industry in this way, I knew we were at least in the same book, if not on the same page across all things. So as we dig into the area for change, I'm sure you've met or at least been on panels, or I know you've been in the same room with Professor Jordan Berry, who did the study on steering that DOJ and everybody. So I want to chat about that for a minute, because essentially what he did was that they used machine learning, and I spoke to 2 statisticians to get this right here, but they used Bayesian hierarchical models, very sophisticated AI and the like, to take Redfin data and slice it and dice it to prove that steering exists. And for listeners, that means if I have the choice of selling you a product and I can make $2 versus selling you a product that's $1, I'm going to go to the one that's $2. Now, many of us don't operate our businesses that way, but many do, right? So the DOJ came down on people and said, look, we're going to try to correct this with all these changes. So my question behind this, Jason, is do you think that requiring each side to now negotiate commissions eliminates that steering element? And before you answer, I'm going to say, I don't think it does. I think it creates another set of problems, although I think it's the right thing to do. I don't think it handles steering. So
I think, here's what my prescription would be to eliminate steering, which is separate from how this was handled. So first, I think we've traded one set of problems for another, but we're all going to abide by the settlement terms, and we have to make do as we can. But we do have now a new set of problems that I think will happen. I think a lot of this will be, instead of documented, I think it will be over the phone between agents or on secure private messaging apps, where agents are sending out, here, listen, I'll do 3 here. Like, I think it's all going to go behind closed doors, which is not healthy for the market. And I don't think it addresses the problem. Here's how you address steering. We have too low standards in this industry.
I agree.
Anyone can get a real estate license in almost any state and be responsible for the most important transaction of a person's life. Yet, you know this better than I, how difficult is it to get your broker-dealer license to trade securities?
Difficult, and you're regulated and you're penalized and you're reviewed.
Exactly. Why is it that we treat real estate here, but broker-dealer licenses here? I don't know.
I don't either.
And so I think that's the root of the problem. We have so many agents chasing only so many deals. Tom, in 1978, the average agent did 11.8 deals a year. In 2022, the average agent did under 8 deals a year. So with all our efficiencies, all our technology, agents are doing less deals today than they did in the 70s before the cell phone.
Yes.
Why? Because there's so many more of them today.
Right. And I guess I do have a partial answer. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah. No, and who benefits from that? A trade association that is mandatory membership benefits from that. But do you and I and the agents watching, did they benefit from that? I'll let you decide.
Not at all. And I'm going to say something that, again, I'll get angry mail just like I do when I suggest that commissions are going down, which we'll get to in a minute. But I think that many of the real estate brokerages benefit from that. And I say that because, and not that they're pyramid schemes, but many are set up such that you've got a brokerage owner who then has as many agents as possible below them, which pay them a monthly fee to, be a part of the club and everything else. So it's a volume of agents under the umbrella that, commissions aside, but it's that volume of agents which, should cover costs, shall we say, and maybe be a profit center. And that's not a model that lends a brokerage owner to say, you know what, I need to get the really good people underneath me and create a top-notch boutique. Like, in fact, if we speak of your partner in the new venture area, I mean, Mauricio, I don't know him. I say we pass like ships in the night. We've done a couple of deals, and I'd love to meet the two of you when you're out here next, perhaps.
Yeah, definitely.
I can walk to both of your offices. But,
perfect.
But, there's a boutique that, coming out of Hilton and Highland and that did it the right way, right? Better agents in general and this sort of thing. But that's not the industry model if you look at the bigger agencies. Would you agree? Or?
Yeah, I mean, every agency is going to have a different model, and it also depends on different markets. I mean, I think the way this plays out in terms of fees and fee compression, to your other point, is going to vary. In New York City, where I mostly work out of, the New York City co-op market, I'd be surprised if there's any fee compression because a seller is incentivized to have a really good buyer's agent because of the co-op application and board approval process. So I'm not sure there's going to be fee compression there. Other parts of the country, I do think it's possible. I think we're seeing very early signs if there are buyers out there who are not happy. I have it in my own business. And I think one of the things that's good about our trade association is it started by agents for agents. So I'm seeing the same things that everyone else is seeing. And so yesterday I had a client over a year wouldn't sign the form as is, the buyer representation form, demanded changes, and we're working through that. Still, we're hoping to get a resolution today so we can take her out this weekend. So I'm seeing it firsthand. Like, I get it. I'm in the trenches every day of this business. I'm not in an ivory tower at the top of an office building as someone who hasn't transacted. I'm someone who's transacting every day. So I understand what it is that agents are going through.
Sure. But let's just think about it for a second. If a potential buyer finds a place on Zillow and locates the property, does all the work, and picks up the phone and, calls me, how do I justify, a commission? Well, I justify it based on my ability to negotiate, et cetera, et cetera. But there's clearly an opportunity for a menu of services for choice. And I think that's where we're going for one. And when you meld that with technology and the ability to tie, title to the blockchain and smart contracts and all of this, just overall, just as happened in the securities markets, after commission deregulation in the 70s, it took a while, but we went from 25 cents a share to zero, basically.
Right.
And I know it's not the same business, and everybody always says that, but there are an awful lot of similarities. And I think to ignore it is a fool's errand.
I agree. Very much agree.
Interesting. All right. So I've got some kind of rapid fire questions, if I might.
Go for it.
Area. Let's hear the story. How'd you come up with the name?
So we don't use the acronym. We just call it American Real Estate
Okay.
Association. It just seemed like it summed up what we're doing in National Trade Group. It says what we are. It's for real estate agents by real estate agents and serving the entire country.
Mm-hmm. The NAR settlement, the national settlement, do you think it'll be approved by the courts in November?
So I'm not a lawyer. It's my guess is it will, but it is if you Google Faustian bargain, this is the definition of one.
Do you think the DOJ injects itself one more time?
I would bet on it.
As would I. When looking at broker and agent counts in over the next 18 months, total number higher or lower?
So lower, but more producing agents.
Mm-hmm. And lower driven by?
Fee compression will force out some folks, and some people who are just more the part-time agents who pick up buyers here and there will not be able to get buyers to sign the buyer representation agreement, and they're going to leave, in my opinion.
Agreed. I think it requires a different skill set.
Yep.
And it becomes a 4-party negotiation instead of 2.
Yes.
All right. So we've already answered this, but commissions higher or lower in 18 months, I think we'd both agree lower overall.
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
For some markets. I think it'll vary from market to market, though.
Yeah, and I should say, I think for those brokers, agents that provide value, there are absolutely opportunities for higher rates.
Yeah, I think
absolutely,
so.
Right?
I think so,
a negotiation, you prove your value, get paid for it.
Absolutely.
Mortgage rates above or below 5% 1 year from now.
Oh gosh, 5. I think they'll be at 5. I don't know if they'll be. I'm not sure. Under 5, it takes a while. I know everyone's about instant gratification.
Yeah.
I would say like 5-ish. But people were saying that last year and I didn't buy it. But now the Fed looks poised to move, so I'll go low 5s.
Mm-hmm. How much impact do you think that has on volumes?
At certain price points, a lot. First-time buyers, a lot. Super end of the luxury market, 0. I think the bigger driver is, do we avoid recession? Do we have a soft landing that prevents recession? Recession, even in lower interest rates, will slow down buying. Recession is a hold my beer to high rates. Like, you think high rates are bad, just wait for a recession, right? Like, recession's worse. We avoid recession. I think the housing market is set up pretty well, particularly if we can increase supply. Well, I think we'll actually be pretty good for the next 2 years.
I don't know if you saw the article in the New York Times yesterday on this topic. If not, I'll send it to you.
I probably did, but I don't remember it offhand.
Basically on supply, and there's kind of now a agreement around, we're 5-6 million units short, but home builders are now fearful, having gotten burned, in the two last, major down cycles.
Oh, sure. That makes sense.
See. All right, well, I promised you we'd keep it short. I wanted to say thank you very much for your time. And
of course. Well, thank you for having me. It's great to be on. And for anyone that's interested in joining, AmericanREA.org, DM me on Instagram. You can reach out to me any way you like. If you have any questions, it's only $20 to join for 2024 and 2025, or $1,500 for a founding membership. Say that 5 times fast. I'll just call it founding membership. And we'd love to have as many people who are interested in disruption and changing the way things are join us at the American Real Estate Association.
Thank you. And talk to me quickly. So I'm going to upgrade likely from the $20 to the founding membership. Why? Same question. Same thing I say about the National Association. Why am I paying you?
So at the founding member, it's good for 10 years of membership. Your name goes on our revamp website. When we revamp it, you'll be recognized at events. We'll have special events just for our founding members. You'll obviously a seat at the table. It's a big financial ask, we know, and we want to provide value for that and honor those that are able to do the $1,500 level. We think that we're at the forefront of a major change in the industry, but this is the top of the first inning, and you're getting in on something on the ground floor and have a chance to help shape the course of the ship sails.
Convinced.
Perfect. Thank
All
you.
right. I'm going to hit pause. I want to ask you something offline for a minute.
Sure.